You know, we're finally getting to see it. One second. Let me stop sharing this. Let me stop sharing this, man. Let me stop sharing this. Go back live. Share my screen with you guys. Let me stop sharing this. Go back live. We want to make sure everything can be heard. Confirm if y'all can hear the video. Check the chat if you hear the hold on. It seems we having some technical difficulties with the audio. We're gonna stop sharing that. See, we have some technical difficulties with the audio. So we're gonna put this on pause.
Yeah.
We're gonna put this on pause. Stop sharing that. And get right back to it. You know what I mean? Okay. Let me get a mic check. 1 2 1 2. This is your hostess with the most. It's burning like toast. Is Cosmonian. Right back up in it, man. We're going to go ahead and get this vibe right. As always, we got to pay a little bills. Selector.
Welcome. Why? Hey. Chronic, left, right, Dr. come, left, right. Hey. Ooh, yeah. Boy.
As always, it's your hostess with the mostest, burning like toast is Cosmonian. Right back with the Jehovah Chronicles number 70. This is gonna be a special one. We're doing a little offbeat, but really not for the faithists. They say, why y'all like Owaspy so much, man? Why y'all go hard so much? Because even in the things that are very, very hard to explain, Owaspy even sheds a little light on that and allows people with the know-how and a way to observe the observable parts of all creation to then come and expound in new ways and new light, bringing these new scientific ways of looking at things and perceiving them and breaking them down and getting a greater understanding, and then applying those understandings towards the good of all humanity. And this is what the faithists do. And this is why we love Owaspy so much, because it's so objective. And if you really delve off into it, it's so much information. It just on a basic skim through, it's a master class on everything. So
I'm loving it.
So without further ado, we just gonna make sure, you know what I mean, we gonna play a little music, then we gonna get right to the doc, man. We gonna get right to the doc. Run the biz. All right. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes.
Everybody in the chat, if y'all can hear me just fine, man, hit your boy Cosmonian with a 1 in the chat. Hit me with a 1 in the chat. Make sure everything is everything, man. Just trying to make sure we can always be heard. Hit me with a 1 in the chat if I can be heard. Okay, everybody is saying we can be heard. All right. Let's get to some of this high Ethereum light with no further ado. I'm the hostess with the mostest, right? But I got one of the best docs in the world. My doctor is better than yours, and my doctor's name is Dr. Susan B. Martinez. How you doing, sister?
I'm okay. I'm better.
All right. Look, you came with a very, very, very interesting topic. Skyquakes. First, a little bit. I think many people. I wanted to give him a kind of look into what a skyquake was with the video, but it didn't for some reason want to act right. You dig what I'm saying? So we had to scrap that real quick. So can you explain to the people first and foremost what a skyquake is?
I just caught on to that word because I started collecting the expressions that people use, the verbal expressions, to describe these weird, inexplicable sounds. And skyquake was one of them. And I'll get back to that because when the sounds are associated with earthquakes, they're heard. The sound is heard in the sky. It's heard in the sky. But here's a list of expressions that people use to explain those strange sounds. Thunder on steroids, swishes, rumbling. You were just saying to me before that they're not all the same. You were listening to some of the videos. Hissing, rushing, whizzing, cannon reports, explosions, etc. So we're gonna get into the sky thing. If you want to, it's pretty intense because we got to go right into the vortex for that.
Right.
Do you want to start with that, or should I gently move into the subject matter?
Well, go ahead, Doc. You go ahead.
Okay, well, let's see where this goes. The ionosphere. We're concerned with the ionosphere, which is here's one definition of the ionosphere: the planet's tenuous envelope of charged particles extending from 80 to 1,000 kilometers up. And I will be so bold as to equate the ionosphere with vortex, because I want to call it the power station of the Earth, because we've learned so much from our last day about that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem comes in when we don't know what HAARP is doing, and let me save HAARP for later. But that is a project, an ongoing project, although I think it became secret in 2013. Of fooling with the atmosphere and shooting stuff right into the ionosphere, and with the ability to change the weather on Earth and do even some bad stuff. So I can get back to the ionosphere, and with the working hypothesis that we're also talking about the vortex, and kind of give the introduction that I was thinking of giving.
Okay, now.
Sound okay?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, Cal, the way I was thinking of starting off was to just pick up where we left off the last time. Because the last time you took me on and I did the global warming hoax.
Right, correct. I remember that.
Yeah, and this is my bête noire. That they are deceiving us with this false theory. I believe that if you go to any astronomer in the world and ask them if planets can heat up, and they will all shake their head, because planets don't heat up; they cool down and they dry out. It so happens that this subject matter that we have here in front of us tonight very much picks up the thread of where we left off with global warming, because you will find that this is kind of a synopsis of what we're going to do. There is manipulation of the weather and of other climate catastrophes that the science of man is perfectly able to manipulate at this time. And a lot of the results, particularly the negative ones, very negative, can be blamed on global warming. So that's where I want to start out. And if we get into the subject of true climate change, I'm recommending that anybody or everybody look at plate 47. Did you have a look at it, by the way? It has Tao Song.
Let me
plate 47.
Or is it 74? The cyclic coil.
That's it.
Right. I got it right here. It says
Okay.
the cyclic coil showing the currents of the vortex, the Tao Sang, the great serpent. The numbers of the beast shall be 66 and 666, and the corresponding parts of those, because in the coil of the cycle, observe that the distances are 2/3 of a circle, whether the distance of a circle as measured in years or as a measured in space and time is 100 or 1,000 or 3 times 1,000. Jehovah rolls up the heavens and braids the serpents of the firmament into his cyclic coil. Who can magnify Jehovah by calling him Osiris or Tien or Baal or Lord or God? He is the circle without beginning or end. His majesty encompasses the universe. This must refer to at least that, this is in parentheses, this must refer to at least to any number that is 2/3 of a cycle, regardless of the cycle's length. In the example given, for a cycle of 3,000 years, the beast influence will fall heavily at 2,000 years, which is 2/3 of 3,000.
Okay. All right. So there are two figures in plate 47. The Tao Shan shows a very smooth conical shape for the solar system. And, you know, when you look at it, you can see the planet names listed underneath. So you know that's the vortex, that's the solar vortex.
Mm-hmm.
And it's conical, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look at the other figure, it's braided and twisted, and that's the cyclic coil. And I realized quite a while back, I've been trying to figure out cyclic coil for a long time, and I'm still not there, but I'm part way there. But and in fact God's Book of Ben, chapter 10, verse 8. Make not a God of riches, nor of your supposed sciences and learning. For in the time you see men doing these things, behold, that is the time of a cyclic coil in the great beast.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this is relevant is because we're going to look at the various possible causes of these noises, and they might be associated with earthquakes, and we might be talking about hurricanes and cyclones. We're going to be talking about things of that nature that are natural and that are unnatural, in other words, man-made. So, make not a God of riches, nor of your supposed sciences and learning, etc., etc. So this is a time of the cyclic coil. So the reason we're going into this is because the cyclic coil brings extremes in climate variations. The science called climate change and the crazy idea that we're responsible for it is what we're trying to get away from here. I'm gonna introduce Mike McGill's definition of climate change. Mike McGill is the author of a very extensive and excellent Owaspé website called studyofOwaspé.com. And Mike and I were in touch for quite a few years, exchanged a lot of ideas. He's down in Southern California. Anyway, he's got a lot of science. Mike's done more with the science than anybody. And he's pulled together a lot of stuff on the cycles and prophecy. But here's his definition of climate change: the oscillation of the vortex. Period.
Period.
Although you also want to add moving into regions of Aji and Dan, and that's his definition. So the word oscillation leads us back to the cyclic coil mentioned in Ben 10.9, which in turn brings us to plate 47, and it's titled the cyclic coil.
Correct.
The grand currents of the vortex are all knotted up. Okay? That braiding, that knotting up, causes the extremes in climate manifestations. What I liked from talking with Mike was finding out that that's just a temporary situation for the oncoming of Cosmon.
Correct.
We're in a period of maximum tension. The twist factor is so intense in the entire social system that the coil represents maximum tension, and it's extra pressure as well on the Vortexian lens. So that's what controls a lot of the climate that we get on Earth. So overall, the words for this are stress, constriction, tightness, contortion, compression. I have a note here from Mike. He describes this as the solar system contracting its coils during the first part of Cosmon, and that's in quote.
Correct.
I was baffled by this for the longest time, but Joan helped me out when she pointed out that the braiding puts a strain on the planet. Much of the stress is due to pressure on the Vortexian lens. Go to Cosmology 3.16 if you want to see about that compression of the lens. Joan and I continue to discuss plate 47 and the knotted, wrenched condition of the heavens. And it soon became clear to me that the crazy weather now manifest on Earth is probably a direct effect of the cyclic coil and its spasms.
And you said that was Book of Cosmogony, what? 3 and what?
3.16.
Okay, well, I'm getting there right now.
Mike says that the oscillation compressions produce heat.
Correct.
And warm spikes. Okay, so we're probably experiencing that with whatever extra heat they're observing elsewhere. But I wanted to give that just as factor number one in climate, because there are other factors, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
So this ties directly into the lean in our planet and how the light actually hits the vortex and is either straight or not bent, but less direct, and hence the temperature changes. If it's head on, this is why it's warmer when we're farther away from the sun and colder when we're closer, because the northern part of America would be tilted away further from the sun, even though it's closer.
Well, aren't we taking into consideration that the heat and light on Earth do not come from the sun, but come from the vortex?
Yes, but the light does tend to register pressure and energy. So to prove that cyclic tightening, that densifying in nature, we would describe that as a raising of light. So it would seem on the macro level that would be literally more direct rays into from the cyclic spin or turn of the galaxy, but that would register as in more light or temperature changes, the ability to change on the micro level, which is still earthwide. So I get what Mike is saying. I totally get it, and I believe he's right. I believe he's right. That's and it proves it right here in 3:16, where it says, as the lens power loses by flattening the vortex and increases by rounding the vortex,
which is the same as compression.
correct, will be observed that the position of the moon's vortex relative to the Earth's is a fair conclusion as to the times of ebb and flood tide. Therefore, well, we can go down off into that, you know what I mean? But
okay,
you know,
can I go on to factor number 2 here?
Please.
Okay, what was the first factor? I already forgot. Tell me.
You was talking about the rounding of the lens of the vortex,
okay, it was
and the cyclic coil.
Okay, that's the first thing to look at, and I'm talking not only about the weird sounds, but about the weather, and we're going to combine those concepts shortly. These weird sounds, there's a certain amount of information available to us that they're due to man-made projects, and for the most part, they're secret projects. Okay, so that's a man-made factor. But now I want to introduce the next factor, which is that these inexplicable roarings that we industrial. So we can't blame them on some politically correct, these inexplicable booms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm going to give some examples. In Connecticut, they were called the Moodish noises, and they were known to the Native Americans even before the Pilgrims arrived on the scene. Over in India, they were called the Barisol guns and have always been heard. Now, these factors that I'm going to mention are the ones that could be scientifically studied. I'm not a scientist. I'm just an OSFE cosmologist, which is what we all are when we study OSFE science. Okay, but these factors, I feel that they can be used and calculated to separate the natural from the man-made sounds. So the Barisol guns in India are heard along the water, near water, along the Ganges Delta, and usually during heavy rains, and also coming from a distance. So I feel that I haven't calculated these factors, but I feel these are the factors that should be used by science if they want to study the problem. Okay, there's also and I'm getting this from William Corliss's book. He really cataloged all the natural mysteries of Earth in his book. So he also mentioned, now this is a French name, the Miss Pouffers, and these have for centuries remained unexplained, and they come off as detonations, and they're also heard near the coast and also as from a distance. Getting back to the States, the Lake Seneca guns are distant also and muffled. It's interesting, they call them land guns, was one of the terms that was used. And it's interesting that the land guns are sometimes heard during seismic tremors. So we're going to start pulling these factors together. I'm quoting Corliss right here, quote, "One of the strangest earthquake sounds is that of a rushing noise in the sky," and that's underlined, in the sky, bearing some resemblance to the Yellowstone Lake whispers. That's another example of them. Some of the sounds occur. A group of these sounds occur also on still, warm days, and there's a record of the 1812 earthquake in Los Angeles, and it was remembered for its powerful rushing noise. But the day was clear and warm, but then came a loud but distant roar in the sky, in the atmosphere over the water, like the land guns. There was no wind or breeze at all. Even the sea was uncommonly smooth and the air calm. Immediately following the skyquake came the terrible earthquake. And I hope everybody gets to hear those sounds tonight. Okay, so that takes care of the natural sounds, and they remain unexplained, but there's some connection between the ionosphere, the vortex, and these sounds. You know, my theory of earthquakes all along, I've been studying earthquakes for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I found?
What's that?
They occur at night when the vortexia is coming out.
Oh.
Okay? During the day, the vortexia drives right down to the center of the Earth. That's daytime. Then, starting in the night hours, it leaves the center of the Earth and shoots out from where? From wherever. Shoots out the Earth.
From everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, right. So the thing is that I have been, every time there's an earthquake in the news, I check out the story, and it's almost always, not always, but almost always between, say, 8 or 9 o'clock at night and about 8 or 9 in the morning. So to me, that's vortexia, vortexia coming after Earth. Okay, and when I was studying it, I found that scientists in Israel, France, and Japan were all hip to this. They were all hip to the ionosphere must be the prime mover of earthquakes. But, they never came out bold with it, you know what I'm saying, because it's not part of standard science. But I believe it's part of Oasis science that will come to be understood, that earthquakes that vortexia has a lot to do with earthquakes.
I'm gonna hold my personal theory for what a skyquake is, but I'll see you the book of cosmogony 3:16 and raise you the book of Eighth 16. Let's start with, I was gonna go just 16 and 5, but book of Eighth, which is the 10th book, chapter 16, verse 4. We're going to start with 4 so we actually get an understanding of what's going on, right? And then I'll just hold my point of view, personal point of view of what actually makes the skyquake sound, right? So let's get a little understanding of what's going on at the time. It's circa 153 BC. It's at the beginning of the Ark of Noah. Eighth and his gods are coming to the planet to sink, pine, and take away its heaven, right? This is what's going on, and it's all these ships with them. So we get an idea that they're coming from deep etheric region, space, and they're heading towards the atmosphere of Earth. This is where we're at. So just so we have context. Brighter and brighter grew that great waving sun sailed by the immortal gods, growing larger and more imposing till when it entered the Earth's vortex or atmosphere, it became like living fire, large as the Earth and of brilliant colors from black to adamant with blue, white, purple, yellow, scarlet, pink, and think comet. These are the same. It's the actual movement of this ionic material. The sister just told y'all about the ionosphere. It is the movement of the ship, which movement of corporeal substance creates what we call energy. It is because of the movement, and moving energy is called kinetic. And because it is moving in opposite to the movement of the ship, hence it creates heat, hence it glows. And like it said, it produces all these colors: yellow, scarlet, pink, and of all shades. And look, this is key: living and sparkling with broad curtains suspended deep as the breath of a world, and with sails and flags that reach upward high as the moon. Okay, so this is a explanation of what the group of ships coming with God eighth to the planet looks like. Okay, now look, this is the key point. Midway in the vortex of the Earth, it stopped. Now, so the ship stopped midway into the atmosphere. What's roughly midway into the atmosphere? Our so-called ionosphere. And the multitude of stars beyond now gathered in majestically from every side, till nearly throughout the fabric of the Earth's atmosphere there was not a place that did not glow with Jehovah's fire of heaven. Now listen, this is the key part to soundquakes. Owaspy dropped fire on everything. Listen, music, which rose from the throne of God, who was eighth, right, a little while before, now stopped, right? For here, where? In the atmosphere, in the ionosphere, for here, halfway through the what? The midway through the Earth's atmosphere or its vortex, what? For here was the play of elements in harmony, which is the same as music to the ear of mortals. So what it's saying is the great harmony and oneness, even in the elements of Jehovah. When there are levels or plateaus or densities of our atmosphere, because it is spinning, more rarefied and lighter towards the outside, more denser and impotent, you know what I mean, less potent towards the planet, and creates what we call atmosphere, which, by the way, science has already proven Shinvat, because Owaspy was the first book in the world to let you know that the moon was in Earth's atmosphere, which extends beyond the moon. That's already proven by science. Science didn't figure it out to 2019. Owaspy knew it in 1881. So, Doc,
What did science say in 2019?
That it just found out that the Earth's atmosphere extends beyond the moon, that the moon moves in our atmosphere. Oahspe was letting us know that in 1881. And that the end of our atmosphere is where you really start getting into space. So even if you went to the moon, it wouldn't matter. You'd still be in the Earth's atmosphere. You never got to space. So that's a objective provement of Shinvat. How would they know this? How would they know?
By reading Oahspe?
That's the only way you would know. But there's only one way that you would know that type of very detailed type of information if you are the one, you actually created it. You were there when this thing was created, and now you're telling the tale about it. Unless you were there, you wouldn't know that type of information, which lends credibility to me, to Oahspe. What you think, Doc?
Yeah, I think yes.
So showing that oneness of the creator, right? What I believe happens is just like instruments. Let's say you have elemental material or atmospheric material from the ionosphere rubbing against ionic material from the exosphere. The play between the two actually rubbing would be basically like steel sharpening steel or nails against a chalkboard. It would create a sound. And because of the harmony of oneness of the creator, he says this harmony that is played between the elements in our atmosphere creates the same thing, what we know as music. I think you're on to something, Doc.
That first noise that you were playing on the video before, it had a tone.
Yeah.
It had a tone. I don't have perfect pitch, but anyone with perfect pitch could tell you what it was, E. Because I think I ought to start laying it out.
Please.
Okay. So if you want to know, I don't know how many of you people have listened to these sounds, but they're pretty amazing. And the standard explanations for these amazing sounds include the following: meteors, natural gas escaping, cannon fire at celebration, aurora sounds. Now, on March 24th, which was just 2 months ago, it happens again, and I'm going to quote the vice mayor of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Here's what he said. There was an earthquake there. Quote, "It seemed like forever until that noise stopped." I don't know how many of you saw this in the news 2 months ago, but Rolling Fork, Mississippi was wiped out by very severe storms on March 24th. It's a small town, and the storms and tornadoes were unusually wicked. The tornado was on the ground more than an hour. It rated EF4, and I don't know what that rating stands for, but it's probably a high rating because it was quoted, and it was called cyclones in some reports. Now let me go on. Tearing through this all-black area, as well as parts of Alabama and Tennessee, the storms and tornadoes, look at that, the two of them together, storms and tornadoes killed more than 26 people, but unprecedented was the width of the destruction zone, almost 100 miles. The winds blew at a staggering 170 miles per hour. Totally demolished were Rolling Forks Hospital, fire station, elementary and high schools, courthouse, library, post office, city hall, police department, and the water tower, not to mention most of the stores and businesses. The disaster at Rolling Fork made me stop and think. This is how this came about. This whole thing came about with me. Would they blame it on climate change? Again, the usual suspect, the scapegoat. There is an alternative explanation, but not politically correct. And the shorthand for it is NMOD. NMOD stands for environmental modification, and that's man-made for sure. But it shouldn't be part of the picture at this point because NMOD was banned internationally in 1978. And I'm going to quote Professor Chosudovsky on the banning of NMOD. Quote, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union were signatories to the Convention on the Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques. That's a mouthful, huh? That's the title of the... Okay, nevertheless, the UN, disregarding the NMOD Convention, decided to exclude from its agenda climate changes resulting from military programs. So what follows from that is that we know that during the Vietnam War, the military tried to extend the monsoon season by cloud seeding. Cloud seeding goes back a few decades before that, but then it was deployed during the Vietnam War. The program during the war was top secret and was called Operation Popeye. It ran from 1967 to 1972.
You said that's Operation Popeye?
Popeye. It was focused on the Ho Chi Minh Trail in order to reduce its trafficability. But not too long afterwards, the Operation Popeye was exposed. It became public knowledge, and that's what led to the NMOD Convention, banning all weather modification in wartime. In fact, the treaty specifically prohibits military action intended to cause earthquakes and tsunamis. I'll take a little breath there, and I would like to conclude this particular section with a quote from one of my favorite writers and thinkers, the late, great Ronald Higgins, British diplomat extraordinaire who warned us all before departing. Quote, the Russians seem especially anxious about waging war through weather control. American forces use these methods to interrupt Viet Cong supply trails, but possibilities include not simply flooding an enemy's armies or crops, and that's ag warfare, agricultural warfare. That's the BM on it. Let me conclude. Also includes harnessing fogs, storms, hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis or tidal waves of extreme violence. The Russians have already proven cavalier in the use of nuclear explosives to reverse rivers, and many of the boldest ideas have come from them. End quote. I happened to, while I was writing this, I happened to notice that the reversing of rivers has been done since that time, and I don't think it was by the Russians, but I can't recall. So it's illegal, it's banned, but we know that stuff is going on because of the information that we do have on HARP. Did you get any information?
On who?
On HARP.
Oh man, it's HARP is a demon. I'm showing the people while you're talking, we're showing Operation Popeye.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's a secret meteorological war operation went on in Vietnam, man. They say they those back roads and those in those rural areas, they rain those people out by cloud seeding. This is crazy.
I'm gonna say something completely off topic, but it's still relevant in a way. Okay, I found what I was looking for. I've been doing some research on the Maya and the talking trees. This is something I found out about from Joan. They're keeping it really secret. A whole segment of the true Maya people have migrated from Guatemala north into Mexico to where the talking trees are, and it's a whole thing, and I'm in the middle of trying to find out more about it. But here's a story I got from a gal who's living there in Mexico. I'm sure she's North American, but she's down there. She's been living there, and she's among the Maya, and she's helped me find some things. She's got a web page with the title something like "The Secret of the Talking Trees," and she's gotten into the Mayan churches and the beliefs of these people, and she has one legend which is so beautiful, and it has to do with rainmaking, because you got me started on this. This goes back. Her story goes back. What she learned there in Maya land in the Yucatan, Mexico, is that when the Spanish came on and the Mexicans joined them and were trying to decimate the tribes, the Mayas moved further and further back into the hinterland.
Yeah.
And they're still there. And so she tells one story, and I forget what the date of it is, but it was when they were when the armies were pursuing these small villages and trying to run them down. Now, this has to do with the talking trees, and one man got a message from the talking trees and was told to do such and such and such and such. It was actually carving crosses out of the tree, and I forget the details. He had to do a certain kind of prayer, and he distributed the crosses to people, and they got them all together praying, and they just prayed that they would be saved from the onslaught. And what happened as a result was that the rains came really heavy, and they couldn't cut through the jungle to get to the people. And after the rains came, the ants came, and so the armies could not even rest on their way to the villages, and they were totally turned back. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Now, just to piggyback that, there are many stories from the American Indians where not only do they speak to the animals, but they also speak to the trees and the plants speak back. There's also a story in the Lost Book of Lamech where Tubal Cain gets the understanding of how to make steel from the earth, and the roots from trees and of the earth came up and grabbed him and pulled him down into the earth and taught him the secrets of how to make steel. And it is said in the book, he was the very first person to kill the Rahab Leviathan, or the great Leviathan, because he had a certain metal that the earth, through the roots, taught him how to make. So
is that the Cheyenne people? Because I heard the same story about the Cheyenne.
Well, this is about the ancient Ahuans. This is from the lost book of Lamech, and then the American. This comes from all. There's two stories. One's from the Plain people. I believe it's the Sioux of the Plain people, and one comes from the Algonquins about talking to the trees, and one where the creator Gichi talks to the animals. And at the time, the dormouse was the biggest animal in North America. He would have been roughly 7 foot at the shoulder. He's like a small bear. He's like a bear. You dig what I'm talking about? This is what the size of your average dormouse was. After the Great Flood, so they say, after the Great Flood, there were great animals left, and Jaja asked the animals, they were very big. He asked the animal, each one, what if you met a man, what would you do? And the mouse said, I would he was the biggest animal at the time. He said I would claw him and gnaw him down. And so Jaja made him little. Jaja made him little. And you know, the different animals give different things that they would do for a man, and because of that, that is their nature. You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting. That ties right into what you're saying. Huh. That's interesting. I didn't think we'd end there today. Talking trees. Oh, wow. Yeah. But even in the biblical tale, I can't remember what exact book it is, but the man tells the mountain to move, and the mountain moves out of his way. These ancient tales tell us that the ancient forefathers tell us that their ideology was that everything had spirit and everything was, in a sense, living, even the things we think of as inanimate, like rocks. In that if you make the proper request, right? If they call it a request. I thought it was interesting that they said this, that if you make the proper request to, let's say, the mountain, and you have enough force of will, the mountain can acquiesce and, in a sense, change its elemental structure and hence move, or can be, like they say, pushed into the ocean. I never understood that till I start getting this great understanding in Owaspy. It starts to give you a little insight into these things, especially the end times. Remember in the end times, they said the man called to the mountains and, hey, mountains, fall on me. And the mountain was like, hey, that's between you and Jaja. I ain't got nothing to do with this. I'm going that way. You know, it didn't make sense to me. It never made sense to me until you understand that everything is in motion. Everything is changing. If it's not, let's just say, necessarily saying evolving, it may be devolving or deconstructing. Like they said, corpora in ether is always trying to destruct itself, uncorpora itself, or age. or decay. So, I think you may be on to something. And why wouldn't we ask the earth? That just makes sense. Why wouldn't we ask the earth itself? What makes these noises? Yeah. Why use the middleman when we can go straight to the source? Huh. I never thought about it like that. I never thought about it like that, Doc. Let's get off into some of this, right? Let me read a little bit of some of the stuff from this report that I got from you, right? Some of this stuff. It says, first, a friend sent me a video with the strange, overwhelming sounds. Then my contact in Italy revealed his grim opinion of the September 6th gigantic, beyond natural, earthquake in Turkey, Syria. It made me think of those weird, awful noises, roaring, that people hear often around earthquake times. Most recently, mysterious sounds wafted through Spokane this January and Houston last year. 2021, Bakersfield, California recorded loud booming sounds with no explanation, while Bucks County, Pennsylvania got it in 2018, deafening mysterious booms with the house rattling. So we understand through the medium of ether that all energy is carried, whether you or vortexia, whatever your understanding is, carried through a medium. And it's just what organ you're actually using to perceive the vortexia is what it is. So if you're perceiving vortexia with your eyes, it would be in color. If you're perceiving vortexia with your ears, it would be sound. So we understand that these things have to have a source. So go ahead into the sourcing of these booms for us, if you could, Doc. Where do you think they're actually coming from?
Well, are you talking about the natural or the man-made?
Let's go natural and then get into the man-made for us, please.
Well, I don't have much insight on the natural, but I think you were making a good point when you were talking about the ether. But maybe I think I'll continue with this concept here, and maybe I'll get a better idea of it as I go along.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to pick up sort of where I left off and mention that, during the Cold War, the military R&D for weather modification became secret, basically secret. There's a little edge of things that they will reveal and make public, but weaponizing the weather has been a secret project for, some 40 or 50 years, if not more. And their results on Earth in the weather have been called, quote unquote, climate engineering events. Okay, so I'm where I want to distinguish those from the natural events, and that's really what I'm talking about. The CIA is even trying to weaponize lightning, and you can check that at Forbes.com.
When you say lightning, talking about direct energy weapons?
No, using steering natural lightning in such a way that it can be manipulated. It's called guided lightning. artificial leaders into storms using aircraft or rockets. The scheme came under the name Project Nimbus, Nimbus. That's how you could look it up. And China, incidentally, is very interested in also pursuing this idea. And the cozy name for this is the Arsenal of Thunderbolts. Now I'm going to quote Professor Trzaskowski again. He said, "They can deliver a very large amount of energy, comparable to a nuclear bomb, anywhere on Earth via laser and particle beams." Okay, so that's the science of man. And the point I want to make about it is that they seem to be focused. This research seems to be focused on targeting a specific area or population. You know, that's what's got my BS meter going.
Now dig this. Check the. I was just giving you a little something to scratch into, Doc. Dig this. Look into direct energy weapons. Dig what they are, because I'm going to explain exactly what you're explaining. Directed energy weapons, DEWs, are defined as electromagnetic systems capable of converting chemical or electrical energy to radiated energy and focusing it on a target, resulting in physical damage that degrades, neutralizes, defeats, or destroys an adversarial capability. Yeah. This is why the chemtrails. This is the how of the California fires. This is how the steel and all the house burns and the car right next to the house burns, but the green plants and the lawn doesn't burn. Oh yeah, go take a picture of or go look at some of these California fires. They would burn for 3 blocks and then nothing else would burn around it. But in those 3 blocks, only the houses burned. The car next to it in the driveway would catch fire, but the grass in between it wouldn't. And then the trash can, which is sitting on the on the street, would melt, catch fire, but the lawn in between the house and all green material, trees by it, none of that catches fire.
You know what's weird about that? At one point, I was looking at spontaneous combustion. You know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the same deal where the nearby things are unaffected. The same exact description of it.
Yep, this is real. This is real, and they've already deployed this stuff in war. It is real. There's now how they're deploying it is where you get your harps of the world and your Noahs. You know what I mean? These atmospheric groups. You dig what I'm talking about? Yeah. You want to get into, you really want to get back into where it all comes from? Take a good look at Lockheed Martin. They have been making these lasers and direct energy weapons for years, since the 70s. Since the 70s. This is stuff that they've been using this stuff since what's the war that came out around 91? Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Yeah. They've been using this stuff over there. They were frying people with microwaves on the back of trucks. Silent weapons.
And Gulf War syndrome has something to do with the chemtrails. And they say that fellas brought it home and it spread here in the States. But right here, I want to start with 1952 because I can bring in some of these phenomena. starting in 1952, chemtrails started dumping thousands of pounds of zinc cadmium sulfide during secret experiments. And let me pause here just for a second and mention that this information and a lot of my information comes from Jim Marrs's books. His last name is spelled Marrs, and you just got to read his books because that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. This has the lowdown. So this comes from Jim Marrs's book, and you know, there was something else I wanted to get to. Let me get to Depop, but I'm not going to do that until I finish my sentence. Starting in 1952, chemtrails started dumping these toxins in secret experiments. Here are some of the places that were contaminated, that were the targets. Fort Wayne, Indiana, St. Louis.
Sure was.
San Francisco, Corpus Christi, Oceanside, California, and even in Minnesota at the Chippewa National Forest. They bring a lot of cancers, skin disease, etc. I've been kind of looking into the skin disease thing lately because I had one myself, and so I've had a few interesting conversations. But these chemtrails have been around since the 50s, and observant people around the world, says Jim Marrs, quote, started noticing the long trails in the sky that failed to evaporate like the condensation trails from normal aircraft. But here's the deal. There was a lot going on in the 1950s. In 1955, there were 19 separate tornadoes spewed over Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas on a single day. 700 people were injured and 100 perished. There's a reason I brought up the 50s, and here it is. Now, it comes from William Line, and I want to mention him also in a minute. Ozone hole, and the U.S. blamed it on aerosol sprays and CFCs, carbofluorocarbons. But Mr. Line, who's an equally brilliant researcher as Jim Marrs, William Line, Lyne, his books are really important. You got to get them. Quote, he says quote, it's probably the byproduct of 3 nuclear missiles launched by the United States in 1957, meant to create a layer of ionic particles to bounce radar impulses. Some of those effects were felt as a great anomaly in the north of Canada. Here's more on the chemtrails from Jim Marrs. One theory is that chemical spraying is a covert means of inoculation, which would be germ warfare. Experts say is not an efficient method for treating bacteria and viruses or to cull the human population, but many pathogens have been found in the upper atmosphere. And here's a text where he says some of the toxic stuff that came from chemtrails was not actually intentional. It was part of other programs and whatnot. But now that I mentioned inoculation, I want to get back to ground zero here, because what got me started. Okay, can we all take a breath? And I want to say what got me started on this.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start start with January 1st of this year because right around that time I was kind of making my New Year's resolution, and I realized I was starting to focus on what I wanted to work on this year, and I realized, and I was working with Richie, Brother in Light. We were doing some art projects together for Brotherhood, and so I gave the name of my writing project for the year, the Brotherhood Project. And as soon as I started putting ideas together for that, I realized I had to deal with all the hate, you know, to shine the light on the darkness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy, that's a job in itself, and it got me to the point where, oh, okay, I got a story to interject here, because a couple of years ago, a faithful friend took me down to the Georgia Guidestones.
Okay.
That's in Alberton, Georgia. It's only a couple of hours from where I live.
Well, it was in Alberton, Georgia.
You got that right.
Yep.
They blew it up last year, a year ago. And you know what? It was not, what do you call, okay, the word escapes me, but it was done very quietly and secretively, and it was not an attack on it, a random attack. It was an inside job.
Facts. I believe so too.
Okay. Yeah, blowing it up was an inside job. But all that is like the trimming. What I want to say is that Georgia Guidestones, they were huge, 9-foot tall slabs with writing on. I don't want to go into all of it. It was ultimately I realized it was the Shadow Elite that put that thing up, and the reason they brought it, whoever it was brought it down, was that things were getting too close to revealing what it was about. But here's what I want to say about the Guidestones. This individual, or whatever group he came from, and he has been identified. Someone showed me a website where that's all that information is disclosed on these mysterious Georgia Guidestones. They laid out, principles for living. Like this is the high teaching. It was very, very lofty in design, the concept, the wording. So these are guidelines for mankind. But I sort of got the creeps from it, and then the what really did it for me was when I learned that what they were instructing us to do was to have the ideal population on Earth would be 500 million people. That's less than 1/10 of what's on Earth now. And that's 500 million people, and there are 8 billion on Earth. So it's about depopulating the Earth. You hear me?
Yes.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in a minute.
I always tell them right now, I got up on the screen. Jim was one of the people who brought this out, but one of the ladies who really caught these guys, Lisa Terror, a sociologist at St. Louis Community College, right? The biggest projects, the biggest ghetto in the United States, right, was called the Pruitt Ego projects in St. Louis. Now they got these people spraying zinc. What? Let me get it. Cadmium sulfide. And they said they mixed in stuff And they got these sprayers all around town. They would put them in the projects. I got the project. They actually tore it down. Guess when it happened? Guess when it started happening? 1953 to 1955, right when you say it was exposed. In her research, she found that the greatest concentration of spraying in St. Louis was at the Pruitt-Eagle public housing complex. We know who in the public housing, which was home to 10,000 low-income residents. It was the biggest in the United States, bigger than Queensbridge. 10,000 low-income residents. She said that 70% of those residents were children from under the age of 12.
And what happened to them?
Okay, let's go a little further. In her findings, one of the compounds that was sprayed upon the public was called FP2266, according to the Army's documents, and was manufactured by U.S. Radium. The compound, also known as radium-226, was the same one that killed and sickened many of the U.S. Radium workers. The Army was admitted that it added a fluorescent substance to the quote-unquote harmless compound, but whether or not the additive was radioactive remains classified. Professor Martino has not been able to find if the Army ever followed up on the long-term health of the residents exposed to the compound. In 1972, the government destroyed the Pruitt-Eagle House projects. Upon learning the professor's findings, Missouri lawmakers called on the Army to detail the test. I share and understand the renewed blah, 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 blah. The impacted communities were not informed of the test. They were running tests. Listen, this is what the Army guys said. I share and understand the renewed anxiety of members of the St. Louis communities that were exposed to the spraying of the chemicals as part of Army tests during the Cold War. Senator Claire McCaskill wrote to Army Secretary John McHugh. It also goes on to say the impacted communities were not informed of the test at the time and are reasonably anxious about the long-term health impacts the test may have had on those exposed to the airborne chemicals.
It's another cancer, asthma, and skin problems.
You want to know what's crazy? All those people that they did, I seen a test that they did run. Most of those people who were in those projects died of cancers, different types of diabetes, all types of asthma, bronchial problems.
You know, and they're also and they also sprayed tons of nano-charged aluminum, and that causes in humans intense inflammation in the tissues and neurological disease and also Alzheimer. And I want to mention, I happen to know about this because my father died of Alzheimer, and it affected him. You know, there was a certain delay, you know, but he deteriorated in his 50s and died in his early 60s. And Dad had worked at the Navy Yard in Brooklyn, cutting aluminum. You know, so all these atmospheric things, you know, including autism, you know. I was recently getting interested in JFK Jr., you know, who just signed up for the primary Democratic campaign. Did you know? JFK Jr.?
No, I didn't know.
He's been doing environmental work for a long time, and he echoes my feeling about autism, and I think it's some of these nanoparticles that have affected autistic children. He's RFK Jr.
Okay.
It has a lot on this. They use barium. They use barium in the Gulf War. The Gulf War you were talking about a few minutes ago, the barium was fed to the Iraqi insurgents so they could be tracked. And these strains, also there's polymers were also used, and they cause serious skin lesions and diseases when absorbed into the skin. Skyrocketing rates of lung cancer, asthma, respiratory problems can at least partially blamed on chemtrails, which may have been how they got the barium distributed. The strange fibers found in the skin of people suffering like this match the material from chemtrails. Just as government officials deny the reality of chemtrails, they also discount reports on Morgellons disease. Okay, here's what they say. Okay, are you ready for this? The skin problems, some of it manifests as a creeping, crawling feeling under the skin. The CDC says that's probably due to mental illness, in quote, in which the patient believes they are infested with parasites, unquote.
Wow. That is nuts.
What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get across is that I've been kind of looking into the Shadow Elite and what their agenda is, and I got a big clue from the Georgia Guidestones when they called for a world population of half a billion. You know, that's a depopulation agenda, and you don't have to look very far to see how successful they've been in wiping out the poor people here on the Red Star. There's so many sides to it that I'm not even going into tonight, but we're just focusing here on weather, the manipulation of weather, and the targeting of particular populations.
Interesting.
Okay, now speaking of, there was an earthquake in 2017 in Turkey, and we'll get to, and that relates somewhat to the one we just had on February 6th. February 6th, the gigantic one this year that affected Turkey and Syria. Okay, we're in Turkey, and the mayor of Ankara in 2017 really thought his city was targeted. He made this public by a man-made earthquake. This was written up in Arab News in June 2017 by Aisha Farid. Melih Gokik blamed the terrible undersea quake on foreign powers, hoping to undermine Turkey's economy. Quote, I think this might be a man-made earthquake, triggered artificially. He tweeted this, brought to us by dark external powers. So here's factor number 3. A quote-unquote seismic research ship sailing near the epicenter of the quake, seen just before the quake, even shared a video of HARP and urged people to watch it. And that brings us up to date here with the recent gigantic quake in Turkey on February 6th. Just let this sink in a minute. 11 cities were leveled. the massive effect here. You never hear about this. It was humongous. $103 billion in damages. 50,000 casualties. Tremors on a scale not felt for 500 years. And as a little follow-up, the Egyptian magazine Al Osboa made bold to report that the very Indian tsunami of 2004, you know, the big one, was intentionally caused by a nuclear weapon under the ocean. So, you know, us here in America, we're the last to know about these things. The Europeans know more about it. The people in the Middle East and Turkey, Africa, they're more open to understanding this. That it's a fact that Russia developed in 1960 loaded with a nuclear warhead and capable of firing at the rate. In 2018, their Trident torpedo, also nuclear powered, and initiating a 500-mile high shockwave. Yeah.
Wow. A 500 foot tidal wave. That's extreme.
I meant shockwave.
While you're talking, in the background, just silence, just so people can get a understanding of really what's going on. I got some of the footage of the earthquake, the 7.8 earthquake that February 6th, and it's showing the area affected. And just as you said, the very first, I want people to notice, the very first earthquake was a 7.8, happened at 4:17 in the morning.
See that? Right in the middle of the night.
Right in the middle of the night, 4:17. You getting shook up out your bed, literally. Yo, you getting shook out your bed. And then roughly a couple hours after it hits, a couple hours later, around 1:30 in the afternoon, a 7.5 hits.
Oh, that's right. There was two of them.
And like she said, 50,000. Those are the ones that they can confirm dead.
I know it.
They said they hadn't had a earthquake over a 6 since 1955. And this was a 7.8. This was devastating.
And you know, that area, you know, where Turkey meets Syria, that's a very critical area right now because of the Syrian Holocaust, or whatever we can call it. People, you know, millions and millions have come out. Almost half of the population that's come out of Syria since all the trouble began right around 2011, you know, after Arab Spring. It's been turmoil and horrible ever since, with more refugees leaving Syria than almost any other country I could think of. So they're moving west into Turkey, and there's a lot of hullabaloo about it. You know, there is all over the world a hullabaloo about what to do with all these refugees. But that's a critical area, and where they haven't found too many answers. And right there, Turkey, Syria, right there is where the earthquake happened.
Yeah, and it's a veritable earthquake hotspot. It is it sits it has 3 smaller faults that are continental plates that are jammed in between the European and the African. And We have the Anatolian, the Aegean plate, and we got the African plate and what they call Arabian plate. There is no Arabian plate. It is the African plate. There's no difference between the so-called Middle East and also Turkey and continental Africa. It is the same place. And where continents touch, there are always mountains. What's in Anatolia? Or nothing but mountains. What's right here to the east more, where the so-called Arabian or the African plate touches the western side of the Asian plate, or the Shemitic plate, or Persia. We got a mountain range. It's called the Zagros, where the three great places touch, the African plate and the Indian plate and the Asian plate. The middle ground is called Persia. Where these places touch, these are the high. And guess where the highest mountains are in the world? Where the three great continents touch. They are called the Himalayas.
Oh, yeah.
These are where the great mountains over here in Tibet. And where Asia touches India, gets smashed by Africa. You know what I mean? That middle part is all Persia, and that's where the highest mountains are, because that's where the greatest compilation of continents is. So, that also hints to we have a line of mountains that run north and south like the backbone or the spine of the Americas, right up the western coast, right through Mesoamerica, right into central North America.
Yeah.
It's virtually one mountain. Well, what causes that if there's nothing but sea next to it?
What do you mean?
Okay, all right. Where there are mountains, right? There's land, right, and another land buttressed next to it to create these great mountains. Well, we don't see that, especially with those in South America and Mesoamerica. There's not two lands buttressed together, unless you understood that in that Pacific Rim was a great continent that was carved from the face of the earth. It literally created the mountains we call the Andes by pushing the continent down. The continent of Guatemala raised up on its western side, fire, volcanoes, all that stuff, and it is now the Pacific Rim, what they call the Pacific Ring of Fire. Yep, that is the leftover cause from the great tube put around the Pacific. Now, science has gone on to prove that during the Laurentine, what they believe happened during the Younger Dryas, or 12,000 years ago, happened 24,000 years ago. And they're looking for 50.
Exactly right. They got that all wrong.
Yep, they're looking for 50,000. Excuse me, they're looking for 50 million square miles of Earth. I say it's 63 million miles, because that's the circumference of the Pacific. And the scorched, damaged Earth is now the foot of the Pacific. This is what they're looking for, and they're looking in the wrong time. And they're looking for the wrong thing.
Exactly. So many times, 24,000 years of life, and they're 24,000 years.
Yeah, they can't get past the Younger Elder Dryas, because they see that, or they believe that there was a comet impact. Now, a comet did have something to do with it, but it didn't impact the Earth. Fact. Fact. Now, uh, correct, correct, correct. Oh man, this was a great build. And you want to know what's crazy? We keep building off of this skyquake idea, and we keep seeing a common thread. And you want to know what I see the common thread is? Move. No matter if it's the sky moving against itself, doesn't matter if it's the continental shelf or the typhoon. We all know that encompass motion. And hence, and if it encompasses motion, it must be tied to vortexian energy. This is why I know what you're saying, Doc, is right on line. I just showed it, in some of the things that HARP are doing behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Talk about global warming and let's have the big picture because I want to continue by talking about what happened, some of these results. Okay, this is factor number 4, weird weather coming from tests and experiments, and also the weird sounds. That's my working hypothesis that the weird sounds have to do with secret underground experiments. We already have enough data on underground nuclear explosions and other secret experiments. It's very literature. I've been recommending find out more about this and a lot of other things. The book I just reread, of course, was called Fourth Reich. So he's explaining Nazi fascist upcoming here in our world, in our country. But the other scientist is William Lyne, and his books are really important and information from. There has been claims to determine near nuclear sites.
Yeah.
Shut up. This is unbelievable. Nothing is a separate topic, but getting back to the nuclear test site, the one in Nevada is only 240 months from the time I say it's San Francisco, and I'm talking about secret tests and experiments. And in this year in North Korea, came reports of an underwater test of a chemical, and that was off the Bay of Hongwon. And after cruising at high speed underwater, it creates an explosion which activates a radioactive wave. Okay. There was a tremor near that site, and I've got a little something I copied from online. The quake is a natural one, and I'm quoting what the article said. The quake is a natural one, and it is believed to have occurred in the aftermath of the 6th nuclear test there. I mean, I'll read that again. Sometimes it's hard to understand the logic of a news report. You know what I'm saying? The quake is a natural one, and it is believed to have occurred in the aftermath of the 6th nuclear test there. It was the most powerful nuclear test underground in September, damaging geological structures in the area. Monitors at that time said the nuclear test created an artificial 6.3 magnitude earthquake at the test site. So that was Korea, and that was earlier this year. Gosh, there's another writer. Are you familiar with any of the books by Joseph Farrell?
No, I'm not.
Oh boy, this is right up your alley. I've only read one of his books, but he's got a bunch of them, and they're of the same quality as the Mars and Lines book that I was quoting before. Joseph Farrell has written that the Shadow Elite, and I'm going to quote him here, can fund a few tornadoes and hurricanes, purchase a few earthquakes, and have enough left over to fund a buyout of the globe.
Whoa. Oh, man.
Okay, and conspiracists believe that the fracking is being used to destroy people's water wells, to sicken the population, and sell more pharmaceuticals that they will need, you know? The market on bottled water, fracked water causes respiratory problems, neurological damage, and has caused those problems in the following places: Arkansas, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. And Jim Marsh says, I'll quote him, chemtrails are nothing new. The U.S. military, in what have been described as vulnerability tests, has sprayed chemical and biological compounds in open-air testing over civilized populations since the 1940s. So that's where your story of St. Louis comes in.
Well, yeah, like you said, also in Indiana, in New York, many of these places were secretly tested on by the United States Army. Shame.
Right.
Shame. Oh man, this was, hey Doc, this was nuts. This was a great build. I think we're gonna cut it short, Doc, so we don't fry their brains. We're gonna let them go back, pick through this. You dig what I'm saying? As we're leaving, I'm gonna play a compilation of some of the most amazing skyquakes, right? And as we're leaving, can you give the people how they can get in touch with you, where they can find some of your materials? We'll leave a link. And can they find you on Amazon? Are your books still on Amazon? And can
Cal,
yeah,
the books I wrote mostly on the records of the race, you know, on the past. Okay, most of my books were on the past, and the ancient, mysterious past, proto-history, all of that, all of those books. That's done. They're available. They're still in print. But what I've been doing since the pandemic, I stopped publishing. I lost my publisher during the pandemic, so I've been out here on my own, and I haven't published anything. So it's just through you and other similar opportunities that I get to talk about this stuff. But anybody is free to talk with me on Facebook, you know.
Definitely a book I want to recommend for everybody. Delusions in Science, one of my favorites. You know, she hits on some topics that hit home for me. I think you guys would like it. I think what's it called? Field Guide to the Spirit World. Is that?
That's it.
And I want to I don't want to mess this up. So give us the book on that you read about JBN. The exact title of the book about JBN.
The Hidden Prophet.
Folks, listen. There's some good soul cooking here. You did what I'm talking about. I know everything that tastes good to me necessarily won't taste good to y'all. But when I tell you there's some good soul cooking here, go and get you a plate, man. Go and support. You dig what I'm talking about? My sister Ema says she says she has most of your books. That's a blessing. Our sister Ahuba in the chat, she said, I have most of your books.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I know Ahuba. I see her on Facebook.
Yep. That's my big sister Ahuba. She said, before we go, can we get a couple questions with you, Doc?
Definitely.
Okay. Let me see. Let me go back. Anybody got any questions? Leave them in the chat. Leave them in the chat. I'm gonna go back and see. You know, okay. This is actually a good question. This is from the brother Lawrence Burton. He asks, Doc, my question is, does the frequencies and vibrations of the inhabitants of Earth have anything to do with these cyclic cycles?
That's very, very difficult question. But to a certain extent it does, because you know, sometimes I think about whether we feed good vibes to the angels that are working for us, you know. And to that extent, I see an effect. But is he talking about the cycles of time? Like what I use for the cycles of time is the winter tables from the Egyptian source, you know, starting with number 11 and all of its multiples. But I think it would take a long talk to answer that question and to find out where he's coming from.
Let me give my little spiel on that. He asks, does the frequencies and vibrations of the inhabitants of Earth have anything to do with these cyclic cycles? I say, you got to, it's the opposite. You got to twist that question around to actually make it make sense. It is the cyclic cycles that deals with the frequencies and vibrations of the inhabitants of the planet. But not only the frequency and vibrations of the planet, but the frequency, vibrations, and densities of our solar system, or Tao Sang, the great serpent. So I would answer that as being, it's just the opposite. For instance, let's go. Let me show why I say that. Let me stop sharing this screen and go to the Book of Owaspy. Book of Owaspy. This is the Book of Ben, chapter 10 and 8, just like the sister said. Or let's go back to 4. You dig what I'm talking about? Let's go back to 4. Or let's go back to 3. 10 and 3. Do not let yourself be conceited in the wisdom of the moderns over the ancients, nor of the ancients over the modern. The Creator created man wisely for the time of the world in which he was created. You are for this era and not for the past. The ancients were for the past era and not for the present. To know the present, listen, this is the key, right? To know, this is the key, and I think the answer to the brother's questions. To know the present is to be up with the sign of the times. This is to be hip. This is to see the hand of Jehovih. Do not make a god of riches, nor of your supposed sciences or riches. Why? Do not make a god of your riches or your supposed sciences is in learning. Why? For in that time you see men doing these things like they're doing right now. Behold, that is the time of the cyclic coil in the great beast. So what he's saying is these are the representations of the cyclic coil. When you see it tighten up, man, tighten, he gets angrier and denser and more corporeal, and you see these actions taken forth in the people. Just know that this is of is a galactic cause for a corporeal observation.
Plus, two extremes for on the change, and that's what's happening now in all of our social life, all of life, things going to the extreme. But we need that to happen for the dividing of the way.
Oh man, I wasn't even sharing.
We need that to happen, but the extremes are phenomenal. I mean, it's really hard for us to see this fascists in Florida and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Said to be hip, to know the present, and to be up on the signs of times. This is how you see Jehovah. Right? You can look around and see Jaja. Do not make a god of riches or sciences or learning, for in the time you see men doing these things, like in 2023 today, behold, that is the time of a cyclic coil in the great beast. Just so happens we're 25 years from the very first semidan or halftime of the Cosmon era. That would equate that and the rising measurable light that we perceive in the world, which is being perceived as time is speeding up. Things are happening faster and more and more and more. It is an effect of the cyclic coil.
On that point, Joan has been handling the trance addresses from the Cosmic Church in England.
Yeah.
You know, Gwen Walton connected her with a lot of that material. You know who I'm talking about? You know Gwen?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
I call him and Peter the Ghostbusters.
Gwen, the trance addresses indicate that despite the date we put on the DAN, 2050 or 2048, that things have accelerated, things will accelerate, and that the DAN really will begin manifesting in 2020. And that was the year the pandemic started. And ever since, it's just been steamrolling. It's steamrolling. We're really into it now. We're really getting into it now.
Yep, we're roughly four years into Jaya. In April, we were 4 years into Jaya, and I see it carrying on. What I thought was for 4.5 years will be the next 5.5 years, and then we'll go into Aja, heading up to high etheric light, which will actually start before 47. You'll start seeing it really high, 40, 41, 42, 43, leading up into it till the time of the actual semi-Dan, which if we got it correct was 5 years 6 months, 5 years 3 months, if I'm not mistaken. So well into the 2050s, 2052, 2053, we'll see this etheric light being shined everywhere. And I expect, I can't, I have an idea what I think will possibly happen, but Jaja's something different. He do something different. That he outthinks us every time. So if I can think of it, it's probably not going to happen, but it'll probably something in that vein will happen, but it'll even be more glorious than we even can even. And then,
surprise.
Yeah, or we could see a total change in human attitude. That's what I'm more looking towards, because this should be 2048 will be a death nail. I don't know what's going to happen. 2048, 2050, that is going to be a death nail for whatever is going to happen in religion. That it's going to start going bad for them dudes. So So I have an idea. You want to hear what I think is happening?
I do.
Well, in the book of Esdras, it tells you that the Ions have gone extinct. Well, the Ions are no longer living on the face of the planet. It didn't say anything about being under the planet or above it. What I think is, because I understand the harvesting times, is what we're going to actually witness. And remember, Jaja says, I'm going to keep every type of man till the Cosmon era. So I can prove to man, look, you can't raise up the barbarian. It doesn't work that. There is no evolution that works. You dig what I'm saying for these guys, except me. Right? So that means the Ahuan is here. That means the Angui is here. That means the Ion is here. Okay, so where are they is the question. I believe Owaspi hints to it, because he said he moved their heavens to the highest etheric regions, right, in our atmosphere. Okay, so if you were extinct, you would no longer need a heaven. So he wouldn't have moved it. They would have just eradicated it. You'd be somewhere else. My ideal is, because I understand primarily when we look in the sky and see what is called UFOs, we are seeing primarily three things. We are seeing one, etheric angelic beings. We are seeing two, extraterrestrial craft and beings. That means they're from here, but they're different. Extraterrestrial, we see the angels, the extraterrestrials, and man-made UFOs. Three things are in the sky.
Exactly.
Okay, so I believe in 2048, what we're going to see is the Iron, who is still extraterrestrial and not quite extinct from the earth and its atmosphere. We're going to watch a physical man, an Iron, become etheric and come back and get grandma, great grandma, and them, and the people who have going on to be brides and bridegrooms and whatever. They are going to leave the earth with the Irons, who are now will be prepared by 2048. That's what's going to come back. That's what's going to crack the sky. And they're going to come get grandma and them. They're not coming to get you. But remember, also during the semi-day, and they tell us that our grandparents will come back and be able to take semblances of flesh and eat with us and hug on us and love us and talk to us. If they are able to graduate from the planet, they're going to come back and we're going to have these conversations. Mm-hmm. So I believe,
grandma, by the way.
I believe
I'm one of them grandmas.
I'm a grandpa. They call me Pawpaw.
Oh.
I got a crew. I got a whole crew of thugs. I got a crew of warrior faithists. Ain't none of them playing. You know what I mean? So I got them from 2 to 29. My oldest son is 29 and the youngest baby 2. So yeah. You know what I mean? So don't let this smooth taste fool you. Dig what I'm talking about? Cosmonian old man. That's them veggies in your life. You know what I mean? That's that good life, living that good life that can keep you looking young. Right. So I believe it's the Iron that's going to come back, crack the sky for 5 years. They may sit in the sky. They may just sit there.
What made you realize that?
Because okay, I'll just say this. Faithists with that old view was always trying to push 2 things on us that's not in OWASP. One, they was always talking vegan this, vegan that. I said, show me vegan in the book one time. That's some man-made stuff. You added in there. I understand the progression, but that's some stuff you added in there. So, you know.
Hey, I'm with you on that.
And so here's another thing that they always try to press up on us. That the Iron is extinct. BS. OWASP don't say that at all.
But what about the people on Earth with Iron DNA?
They still here. That's me and you.
Right, and some of them have more concentrated than us.
Guess what?
Enclaves.
Guess what? Iron leaning Gan is called. Angui Gan. Guess who those people are? The Negro of America. The spiritual backbone of America. He said, God said, I'm going to keep Ahuin like the ancient alive only in North America.
Right.
He gonna be copper colored. He gonna have long black coarse hair. He's gonna be very symmetrical. He's gonna be beautiful. And if he's symmetrical, that means he's hella athletic.
Right.
He's gonna be a master of harmony, and you're gonna readily be able to see these iron-leaning gons.
I was thinking of how the artisans, the North and South American tribes are just natural artists, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was brought to my attention. Me and John were talking about, we both had gone to Mexico at different points in our life to get dental work. And she was just telling me on Sunday, yesterday, that no, not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, that it was the best dental work she ever got, and it just clicked because, you know, the South Americans I've known have been goldsmiths and architects and woodworkers and you know, old painters. It's just natural. It's in their DNA.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Facts.
Angui gun.
The Angui, the upright talking man. He is today called Negro. But understand that we already mixed. So you already got whatever the iron you gonna get. It don't make nobody different. It don't make nobody better. You dig what I'm talking about? It makes us a little different, but we not better. I like to think that the ancient Ayan, when they were so small and physically weak, but so smart and spiritually dominant, that when they talked about a time of balance, of great balance and great physicality and great spirituality, they thought of the people of the Cosmon era.
Yeah.
When we hear about these stories of this ancient old 40, 50, 60,000 year old community somewhere in the world doing all this great building, we hear about the stories that they pass down, these great stories of spirituality, where they talk about times where people will come after them who will be greater than them. I believe that come in this dispensation, in the Cosmon era. I believe that comes, and I will say, I don't believe it's us. I believe it's our children's children.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean? We're just the foundation. We're just cleaning away the old edifice and putting down a new foundation. That's what we're doing. We're the destroyers and the builders.
Yeah, right.
We're tearing down the old edifices and raising up new foundations, solid in Jehovih. Huh?
Amen.
Hey, you dig what I'm talking about? It's all coming. It's all coming. Hey, Doc. I'd like to thank you for coming out. You dropped some heat on us today. Stuff we weren't even really thinking about. And then you still were able to tie it together with that string of light that always descends from Jah. Huh? We find that in the dirtiest, stinking the lies. In the best of the lies, they got Jah in there. Huh? Oh, in the best of the truth, they got Jah in there.
There's no stopping us, brother.
Oh man. He said, look at the remnants of the Algonquins. Look at the Americans. Huh? Their book is a power. Look for the people who stand by the Creator. Who can sell them stories of woman, praising a man born of woman? Huh? Who gonna sell Cosmo and Cal that story? Huh? Keep your jeebus. Give me Jaja. I want the creator. Nothing but. I won't settle for nothing but the best.
All right.
Huh? Peace to the creator gang, man. Peace to all the righteous gods, man, and Nirvanian goddesses out there, man. As we always say, you bring them, we raise them. Thank you, Doc, for coming in and sharing your etheric light with us, man. Listen, it was heavy today. Heavy, Doc. You got to give you some bombs, you know what I mean? I'm dropping bombs on it right now.
I know.
Hey, anything you'd like to say to the faithers as we leaving out?
Oh gosh, just that this is just skimming the surface here, because everybody's going through so much right now, and we need a broader understanding. We need more light. We need to understand these things, and not in a paranoid way. And I was thinking just this day and this week that we need a better name than conspiracy theory, because so much of it really is searching for the truth and finding it. You know, we don't need the stigma of that name, conspiracy theories. I've been trying to come up with a better name, but I haven't come up with it. But I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
A more dignified name for all of this.
And how can it be a conspiracy if much of it's being proven true? It can be a theory. It can be a theory, but it is out of the realm of conspiracy. Once we see, this is the power of the faithists. We are bringing new ideas and understandings of creation to the world that is going to flip science on its head. Because they're still in the Big Bang. They're still they're not even in elementary school in creation. They're in kindergarten. They haven't even, as a matter of fact, they have no knowledge. You want me to tell you why? You want me to tell you why they have no knowledge? Yeah. Because the beginning of all knowledge is to understand that there is a creator for all this creation. That's the beginning of all knowledge, to understand that there is a creator. If you haven't wrapped your mind around that, you know no thing. And you are what Owaspi calls a subjective spiritualist, or even worse, an atheist. But listen, it all comes a time where Jaja says everything will come to light. Well, the logical question is, when, Jaja? Huh? When, creator?
I know.
When?
I know, but you know, the answer to that is, the answer to when is now.
That's right.
That's the answer.
Come on, Post. Come on, Post. Come on. It's the Cosmo era. This that level. This that time. This that level up. Level up. Level up. Level up, level up, level up. This that level up time. This is when it's high spirituality. We're gonna have Moseses that's gonna be able to fight like Israel Adesanya. This is gonna be John Jones mixed with Jesus. This is gonna be the best fighters you've ever heard of, and the best spiritualists at the same time. These are your mutants that you are seeing in your movies. These are your witches and your warlocks.
Right.
These will be your children. These will be your children. Don't be afraid of it. Raise up that spirituality in them, because it is actually the spirit and not the man that does the work. Yeah. It's the spirit working through the man that does the work. This is why law number 1 is purification. Change your diet. You did what I'm talking about. Try to do the best that you can. That is the whole law. Ain't no other thing. Nothing else to it.
That's what the Hopi the day of purification. They have a lot of the teachings.
They sure do. Shout out to the Hopi. Shout out to all the Southwest Amerindians. Shout out to the Algonquins and the Iroquois. Shout out to my people, the Choctaw and the Mohegans. Yeah, yeah, the Hochicas. You dig what I'm talking about? Shout out to the Choctaw, the Hochicas. That's who they are.
Manito.
Shout out to Manito. Shout out to the great Egoquim. Huh? We are the sons of Haonga. We're the sons and daughters of Haonga. Bringing this light back, huh? Hunger. Hey, they said, hey, this is Guatemala. This is the land of the 4 tribes. So we already got it mixed up. We already got it twisted up in us. It's already there. We got to get past this lookership. We got to get past colorism. We got to get past racism. And we got to get past biases and prejudices. Once we get past them, the world will open up. It's all coming.
Yeah, I feel it. I see it all the time.
It's coming.
In my heart, I see it all the time.
It's coming. I know my father. I know him. I know what he do.
I was born like this.
Yeah. I can't help it. I can't help this. And they call it today, they call it being real. They call you, and then they joke about you and try to say, oh, it's woke. It's being woke. Yes, it is. I am woke. I am aware. They try to joke about it and down you. No, I can't help but feel. I can't act like Jaja ain't real. I see him.
That's right.
I see it.
That's right.
He talked to me. He talked to me. And just because he talked to me and don't talk to you is not proof that he doesn't talk. It's proof that you haven't tuned in to hear the voice of the Creator. This is the whole point of OWASP. That's the whole point. So you can hear Jaja voice in real time without no meditation, without no prayer, without getting your knees all dusty and dirty. To be able to hear that voice in 4K HD, right in the middle of your soul. You didn't heard it before. You've heard it. Every time that they told you, well, no, don't go over there and do that, Cosma. Don't you go over there and do that, Poosh. And you don't go, and you wake up the next morning and you find out the place that you was about to go, 7 people got killed that night. It's happened to every single one of us. Sometimes you listen and you're able to learn. Sometimes you don't listen and you get hit upside the back of the head. Boop.
You know, the light is coming. The light is coming. And, a lot of people are freaking out.
Yep.
They don't know what to make of it.
Yep.
They don't know it. And they turn it into fantasies instead of looking for what it really is.
Every day. Every day. It's that light. It's more light every day. And we are seeing things that were hidden for hundreds of years now being revealed, made plain. Huh?
Yeah.
How did OWASP know that the moon was in the Earth's atmosphere in 1881? How did it know that it started off as a molten globe that's proven? We can't debate this. Science has already proven this.
Yes, that's right. But that's the trouble with people's minds now. Even if it's something totally logical and makes sense, they turn around and call it something else.
They call it, you know what they call it? You know what they call it, Pooch? Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That's what y'all need to do. Start delving off into what you think is a conspiracy. You're going to find out that there's some truth in there, because man is not smart enough to think up werewolves. Man is not smart enough to think up dragons and gods. He's seen something and they wrote about it. after the fact. Man is not made so high to where he can comprehend everything all at once. It's not going to happen. It's not happening.
No, it's bit by bit. It's a slow process. It's coin by coin.
Yeah. They like to call it evolution. They like to call it evolution. I like to call it will. Because
I like to call it free will.
That's right.
Because that's what Jehovah gave us, and that's what we got to use all the time.
That's right. Come on, Pooh.
Instead of being led like a pack of sheep.
Come on, talk to him. Talk to him.
That's the media being led like a pack of sheep.
Hey, Pooh, can I read? I just want to read one verse in Owaspy, and we're going to get up out of here, right? I think this is the most powerful verse in Owaspy. It makes so much sense. I haven't heard anything even close to it. And it explains so much. And this is, nope. The Book of Jehovih. Book of Jehovih.
Good one.
Book of Jehovih.
I love it.
Chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Right? It just made sense to me. I'm gonna go through from 1 to 3. 1 to 3. It made sense to me. It said all is, it said all was, all is, and all shall ever be. That is the concept. That is the concept of time, past, future, and present. And the all spoke. How does it all speak? Motion. And motion was and is and ever shall be, and being positive was called he and him. They're talking about motion and energy. Not he and him as in male and female, he and him as in negative and positive, as in energy and how it moves with polarity. Was called he and him, the all motion. This is how the all speaks. The all motion was the speech. He said, I am. And he comprehended all things, the seen and the unseen, nor is there anything in all the universe that is not part of him. He said, I am the soul of all. And all that is seen is part of my person and my body. Wow. That just opened it up for me. I knew I didn't, because see, when I first read Owaspy, I went to the Book of the Wars of Jehovah. That was the very first book I read. Something drawed me to it, and I read it. And it made sense. But I was still amazed. I said, there's no way this is real. I said, there's no way this is real. So I started at the beginning, and I got to chapter 1 of Book of Jehovah. And then it all made sense. I couldn't stop crying. Because right then, right here, is when I knew I was duped. I knew I was lied to. I knew it. Right here. Every bit of the part. Because he told us he just made the earth. God, in the beginning, God made the heavens and earth. You dig what I'm talking about? Yeah. It didn't make sense. You ain't give me no how. How did you do it? Jaja, I say, before I make a heavenly body, I create a vortex first. I said, oh, this is why it's moving. This is why it's spinning. This is why it's on its axis. Oh, the light cut on. Boop. And I've I've been ripping and running for the last decade.
Yeah, there's emotion in. We're going to do the language study next, and there's emotion in vortex and work, and the word work come from work, work, and work. It's the same in. I've been studying the European languages, and it's all the same word structure. Come from that same word work, and that's work, and that's motion, that's energy, that's positive, that's the male. While the female is a receptive, and the goddess has two virtues that Jehovih told us about. She has curiosity and solicitude. Isn't that beautiful?
That's
the
good.
Negative, for the negative, people don't understand that, but for the Om.
Yeah, the great female, the great Mai, the great Gaia.
Solicitude and curiosity. Isn't that true?
Yeah. Because you ain't going to have nothing, your girl. If your girl get the idea that something ain't right, she about to look into it.
That's right, brother.
That's right. That's right. She's all about to look into it. If something don't smell right, oh, she going to scratch that itch.
We'll do it till the day we drop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We're faces to the bone, and we'll do it till the day we drop.
Hey, Pooch. Verse 4, he say, by virtue of my presence, all things are. By virtue of my presence, life is. By virtue of my presence, the living are brought forth into life. I am the quickener, the mover, the creator, the destroyer. I knew. He had to be the same thing. He had to be all of it. He had to be the creator and the destroyer. Hence, God and the devil. He had to be the left and the right. He had to be the light and the dark. He said, I'm first. So that's before the beginning. I'm first. And I'm last. I knew right then. I cried. I sat in the bathroom about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Boo-hooing. Because I knew I got tricked. But they ain't just tricked me. They tricked the best woman I ever knew in my life, my mama. They tricked her mama. They tricked her mama and her mom. And we tried our best. This was all we knew was Christ.
Yeah.
This is all we knew. We didn't have another choice. All we knew was Allah. All we knew was Buddha. All we knew was Brahma. Yeah. But we also knew something wasn't right.
So that's why we need woman's solicitude.
That's right.
You know, to understand each other and accept each other. And, you know, I find lately that if I'm talking about this, and I call the creator the great mystery, and that puts people at their ease because, you know, they understand that we can't understand it all. We can't. You know, we can understand more, but not at all until we move on.
True God said, when you leave off this planet, there are angels higher than me, more comprehensive than me, who have been around millions and billions of years. And they are no closer or further from Jaja than you are today. I mean, the most high-raised angels there are don't fully comprehend Creator.
Yeah.
So let it go. No, you're not going to get it all here.
Yeah.
You can't.
That's right.
You can't get it all here. Jaja got some things to show you. But while you're here, what he say? Be good. Live to your highest light. Try to eat some veggies.
Yeah.
Try to eat a couple veggies.
Right.
And be good to somebody. That's it. That's it. All that praying, giving 10% of my earnings and Jesus and I got a lot. None of that. Jaja say I don't want it. True God say I can't use it. What would I use your lowly prayer for? I'm trying to raise you up. How you gonna teach me something?
Yeah.
That's what true God telling them today. True Goddess is telling them today. Oh, they always talk about what's missing in our people. What the thing, wondering why we can't get along, why we can't put it together, why we can't get reparations, why we can't be as indigenous people of America come together and get our own stuff together, because y'all haven't got y'all religion together. You ain't praising the Great Spirit. You are the direct sons and daughters of the Great Spirit. You descent of Iwata, and you're not praising the Great Spirit. That's why it won't work. Until you get your praise game together. Until you get away from the gods. Until you get back to the Great Spirit.
Yeah.
When you get to the Great Spirit, huh? Then it works. It all works.
The Great Spirit anyway.
It all works.
Yeah.
Huh? Y'all ain't got to believe Cosmon, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Don't believe me. Go study what I'm doing. Go study what I'm talking about. Ain't nobody telling you this stuff. Nobody. Nowhere. Jaja different. He not about to come with what everybody else coming with. And neither is his sons and daughters. You different. I ain't say better. I said you different.
Yeah, right.
You get it. You get it. That makes you, guess what? That makes you onion. That's all that means. I get it. Druck, that means I don't get it. And if you don't understand that there ain't a creator, you're not intelligent. You can be smart. You can be well read. But if you don't understand how this works, you don't know anything.
So that's why our job is upliftment here on the Red Star.
Huh? That's
why
it.
our job is upliftment.
That's it. That's why here at the Creator Gang, we tell them, you bring them, we raise them. Huh? Bring the Druges with you. We raise them too. We ain't scared of nothing. I know Jaja. I know my father. I can't wait. I can't wait till I'm in the higher heavens, busting the hell knots open, saving these people. I can't wait. I'm going head first. I'm like Hoab. I'm going head first.
I know. I was thinking about it, the transition, and and it's just like, they say they receive them on blankets.
That's right.
We're like babies. We're just like babies born. We don't know nothing, and then we have to get acclimated to it, and by we do.
That's right. The sister Elizabeth Weaver, Ray, she said the stigmas and stereotypes are gonna stop. Facts. Those are facts.
Yeah, and I think that it can only happen when the faces get stronger and unite.
It's coming. Jaja said it's gonna be all organic. We ain't gonna have to push it.
I know it. It's gonna happen spontaneous.
Spontaneous, and I'm just telling you within the next 25 years. Cause before whatever hit the fan, and the true and what's left of the false gods start kicking and rolling over and dying and throwing temper tantrums, it's gonna get a little worse before it get a little better. And the faith is gonna be gone. We're gonna already be gone. I can't wait to see what the congregation of the faithists look like in 20 years.
I know it.
I can't wait. We gonna have whole new babies. My nephew Osir will be 20. If that boy ain't floating, I know he is. He gonna be different. You better go look at your babies. They stars. They stars. And the faster the vortex spin, the more happens, the more life, more creator. More vortexia means more creation. They're stars.
Right. It's gonna be a creative principle. No plan, but organic.
Organic.
And that means using all our talents, because everybody is good at something. Everybody.
Yup.
Everybody is good at something.
That's right. That's right. Faith is gonna change the world. The world. Not only just America, not only just in your home, in your community, in your state, in your country, the world. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm chomping at the bit. Jaja got me on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Who gonna level up with me? I'm going to the second resurrection. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. Who jumping in the Otavan? Who going in the Atavasi? Who riding out with true God? I'm gone. The very first chance I get, I'm out of here to the etheric worlds. He said, that's my inheritance. It's mine. I want it all. If I had to live through this life with this brown skin and get the type of whoopings that I got, to become the man that I am today, glory. He got something glorious waiting on me. He got something glorious waiting for me. What he got waiting for you? Are you going to ask? Are you going to pick up the book and at least try to see if it works, if you can hear Jaja? He said, because he told us, you going to know of assurance where you going if you get this book and you apply this way, not no law, the way, that it is assured you will know where you going once you die. That's the whole purpose of the book. To see heaven, to hear it in real time, to know of an assurity when you die where I'm going. Creator gang. You can't do it without affiliation.
Right. You can stop right there.
You can't do it by yourself. No man is an island. You can't do it without Jaja. You can't do it without Creator. This don't happen without true God. This don't happen without true Lord. But see, as them sons of the Egoquim, the great Ormaz, we've always known that Geechee and Manito were two different people. We always knew that Manito worked for Geechee. That's the trick. We always knew God was the brother, not the father. It is for that understanding for the last 6,000 years since the time of Abram, 25 years, less than 6,000 years, you've been oppressed for that knowledge because you never, ever, ever would praise a God, a Lord, a Messiah, a Savior, born a woman. No better than you. Huh? I don't want no middleman. Jeebus can't get none of this. Huh? Brahma can't get none of this. Horus, you ain't got nothing coming. Baal, Ashteret, Inanna, you got nothing coming. Jaja say this is my inheritance. You can't trick me. You already told me about Jacob and Esau.
Yeah.
Huh? I'm partaking of the earth. I ain't gonna be that hungry. That I'm gonna sell my birthright. Is you gonna sell yours? Come on now. Come on now. It's some stuff we can learn from it if we look at it allegorically. If we look at it allegorically, there's some stuff we can still learn from that Bible. Don't take it literally. Look at it allegorically.
That's right.
Man, this was a fire bill. Fire bill. You done got me tapped in. I'm on fire right now. You dig what I'm saying? That's why I like talking to you, Doc. You make my brain think. You make my brain think.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Hey, look. Hey, Doc. Breathe in. Let the light in. Because I'm Cosmon and I'm out.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air,
Just that Japheth, that Chow Mein, that Papa Bull, that Tao Mein, since sunset in the Ark of Wayne. My brain moving like Tao Sang, so ass above, it's so below. That up and that down thing, this flow is atmospheric. I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing and current? See, the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people. Oh, watch me flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the equal. And when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing Puerto. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sealer. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door star. In the 4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Uma. Oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahu when it's now a ennui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me? Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oh, watch me flow, it's so potent. Set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you make it feel lot. Well, I'm a Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah.
Put that super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh